Ramana Maharshi's wisdom shines in talks with Sri Ramana Maharshi. This Ramana clip is from a longer video by me, Richard Clarke, as I comment. YouTube subtitles, their closed captions, are good. Turn them on and read along.
Silence is key to spiritual efforts. It is in silence that you find the deepest peace. It is from silence that the deepest self-knowledge rises. What is silence? Ramana tells us about it. There is external silence and internal silence. External silence is the removal of sound from your experience. Internal silence comes from within you. It's called Mouna. Ramana speaks of this as when one controls their speech. Describing external silence, Ramana says, the silence of solitude is forced. It's external since it is silence from the environment. It is force since the listener does nothing to maintain it since it's from the environment. The listener may have put themselves in a situation where this this external silence. This silence, though, depends on the environment, not anything internal, like quieting the mind. The mind is what brings disquiet, not so much sounds from the world. Deepest internal silence is when there is nothing that needs to be expressed, because there really is no one left to express anything. Deepest silence comes when the ego is silent. Discussing internal silence, Ramana talks about restrained speech in society. He says that before there is speech, there's a speaker, and the speaker is the source. If there is speech, then there's someone to speak. Who is this? Is it the ego I, or is it the self? This is important to understand. Speech is an activity of the body. Is it the self that speaks, or the seeming individual identified with the body and mind? Is it ego talking, or the absolute being which you are? Absolute being doesn't talk since it has no need to express anything. The primary Hindu example of this internal silence is Dakshinamurti, the ancient original guru. He taught only in silence. From this silence, he expressed no ego, no individual identity. His followers learned from this silence, and they learned that self-realization is not some kind of mental achievement that can be thought about. The mind cannot penetrate this silence, so it is left behind. Self-realization is something known when the mind is still, known by virtue of being it, existing as it. not known through cognitive understanding. Those seeking silence start with external silence, placing themselves in situations with reduced sound. The hope is that this reduction in external sound will result in a quiet mind. Sometimes it does, but often it seems that the mental noise increases when there's nothing else in your attention of the environment for distraction. Maybe the mind is more active, or maybe you just notice it more. When the silence is from within yourself, then external noise doesn't matter. When silence is from within yourself, the mind quiets. And as mind quiets, ego diminishes until finally there is total silence and no ego remaining. This is what Dakshinamurti showed his disciples. This is natural silence, Mouna, the silence that comes when there is no ego to express anything. Silence is where no ego arises. This Ramana has told us. I've experienced how silence is always present at the root of all the sounds. If there were no silence, there would be no place for sound. Sound arises from the silence, in the silence that is always there. Mouna, silence, is where there is no I. This is the natural state.
These videos help bring Ramana Maharshi's teachings into your direct experience. Subscribe now to help you deepen your understanding and practice to know the self. Just click the subscribe button.